Well, good morning, good evening. Actually, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world. My name is Dr. DAAM. This is the Dr. DAAM Podcast, episode 54, titled Quiet Competence. This is the Great Society podcast and the Mom Podcast. And I wanted to have a much more shorter title today than the recent long title that I've had up there. So a little catch up on my last story, which I spoke about Daniel Sassoon versus Eric Adams. Just about the Eric Adams side, the fact that he's 4 deputy mayors of his have just resigned as of today, and which says a lot about their understanding of his position in the leadership there at New York City. It's kind of funny. The way he leads is actually going to tie into this story of quiet competence, because I don't think he has it. But hopefully, the governor of New York will make a decision so we can move on from what's going on, because I live in New York City metro area. Whatever happens in New York, I have my mayor in my local town here, but whatever happens in New York affects us across the board here in the New York City metro area. So that's basically the fact that there's things going on there, and we'll see. There's also things going on at the national level, where there's lawsuits against the current administration by various entities. Right now, there's a class action lawsuit, or a lawsuit by USAID workers for basically abandonment overseas. They have wives, spouses that are in distress in terms of their pregnancies, and they cannot be brought home for different reasons. So there's those things going. There's folks losing their jobs that should not be losing their jobs because they have critical skill sets that are required for different key things in government. But that's beyond my control, but I'm just observing what's going on and just monitoring and so forth. Hopefully for the best, in terms of our country, in terms of our society, and in terms of the world, because whatever happens here in the United States affects the world, no matter what people may think. When you have this much power in different dimensions, from diplomacy and information to military to economic, what goes on here have seismic ripple effects across the globe. And thus we must always pay attention to what's going on in the United States and its leadership. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about leadership in general. But I also want to talk about Joe Biden, who was the former president of the United States. I want to compare it to Eric Adams and others, because I think it's valuable to understand why leaders lead and some leaders crash and burn. So, as I mentioned before in other podcasts, I spent many years in the military. And I developed a knack for understanding different leadership styles. You could always tell those who were chest pumping, blah, 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 blah. Those who were in the middle, who were, sometimes chest pumping, but they're much more laid back. And then there's those who are laid back, or sometimes too laid back, but laid back and still getting the job done and so forth. I want to talk about those guys mostly in the middle, I think, who are, and closest to the ones who are laid back. Sorry. They have what I call a quiet competence. In the special forces, especially in the Army Special Forces, they're called the quiet professionals. They're uber competent, and they will get the job done come hell or high water. They don't brag. They don't boast. They just receive the mission, consider it, divvy up task and what they need to do. They go and execute the mission and come back, hopefully, hopefully alive and together and without any injury. And in most cases, that's the case. And for those who make the ultimate sacrifice, my thoughts are with you all and your families. But that kind of leadership they practice, that kind of focus they practice, is what I consider the type of quiet competence that is really necessary in this world. They're not out to cause chaos. They're not out to beat their chest. They're not out to do things that may be outside the norm. They're just out to do their job and serve their country and do great things and then come home. I think it was John Collins or Daniel Collins. I forgot who wrote the book Good to Great. But he talked about level 5 leadership. Those guys and gals who have this special thing about them. And I believe he spoke about, neutron or neuro? It was something about aluminum. I forgot the name of the company. But this guy took over this aluminum company, and the only thing he wanted to focus on was safety. And safety became interconnected with other things across the organization. And he was so deliberate in his focus on safety. And it made a difference across the board in terms of his company. His company went from good to great. Now, the good to great theory fell off, of course, as many of you know, if you watch business, after 2008 because some of those companies crashed. So it's the reality of business, but level 5 leadership still has a certain legendary status in leadership. And because it's the kind of leadership that helps people to elevate their organizations above themselves. And they want to find the best in others. I remember when I was a battalion commander, when I took over, I was in charge of 700 folks from 2021 to 2022. And my number one priority was pay. I adopted that focus. I'm not calling myself a level 5 leadership. Just want to make sure. I'm just saying, just this is an example. When I took over, I wanted to focus on pay. The reason I wanted to focus on pay, because I knew if pay was right, the personnel in my organization were happy. And we were taking care of them. If pay was wrong, the personnel in my organization were unhappy and things were going sideways. And I will tell you, the audience, focusing on pay helped me discover a lot of issues that would not have percolated to my level unless I focused on pay. And that is a quiet competence of certain leaders. They focus on one issue, and that one issue has tentacles into other arenas. And they tackle out one issue, and they fix other issues, and they fix other issues before they become issues down the line, based on that one issue. And you never see them, thumping their chest saying blah, 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 X, Y, and Z, because they're just focused on one issue. And that one issue may be not a sexy issue to many people, but it is a critical issue to that person, and they know it will make a difference in the lives of dozens to hundreds to thousands to millions. If you focus on one issue, you can make a difference in multiple arenas. And that's what I want to talk about, quiet competence, and I want to talk about Joe Biden in that arena. So, as many of you who lived through the Biden administration understood, Joe Biden's favorite topic, I think at this point in time we know, was infrastructure. Or unions, one of those two. Well, we'll just focus on infrastructure right now. Everything for Joe Biden came down to infrastructure. He loved infrastructures, just like he loved unions. And he committed his presidency to get an infrastructure passed. Every single bill, from the American Reinvestment Act to the Inflation Reduction Act, always had some kind of infrastructure component. When he proposed Build Back Better, it was all about infrastructure. Infrastructure. Joe Biden, like most leaders who practice quiet competence, know that if you focus on one issue, that one issue interconnects with a whole bunch of other issues and dynamics and concerns and challenges. And if you can resolve that one issue, multiple solutions can percolate throughout the system. So infrastructure became Joe Biden's focus. For a lot of Americans, infrastructure is part of their lives, but they didn't really care. They were focused on other issues like eggs, and which is understandable because the avian flu was flowing. Inflation was also a big issue for a lot of Americans, which ultimately I think caused the Democrats the election. But that's in the past now, and we can see inflation is rising again based on the fact that eggs prices are high due to the avian flu and the death of chickens. So you never would get away from the fact that President Biden would focus on infrastructure, because to him, infrastructure was the end all, the be all of things. If you fund infrastructure, you change the lives of people. You change the lives of millions. If you fund infrastructure, you're investing in the future of America. You're investing in the future of American kids. You're investing in industry, because in order to move products, roads, bridges, railways, all need to be repaired or improved upon or rebuilt anew or renovated or go through a renaissance, because we all count on those things to carry us forward and secure our daily lives and our livelihoods. And I think it's a lesson we learned from General Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, where he focused on infrastructure also. We drive on the various interstates, which are called the Eisenhower interstates, because he was the one who led the investment in those roads based on his learnings in World War II in Germany. The Germans have the best roads. I would give them that. I've drove those roads for many years. So they know how to fix roads, they know how to build roads, they know how to create roads. If there's a specialty that Germans know, it is road construction, road building, road repair. And that's what Eisenhower focused on, and that's what Joe Biden focused on. Again, infrastructure is not sexy. It's very sometimes hard to brag about infrastructure because it's there. But it's a part of our lives, and it can address so many things. And that gets back to that one word that quietly competent leaders focus on. And I considered Joe Biden a very quiet, competent leader. He never, to his detriment, pumped his chest. He just assumed that the American people would see that he was doing a good job. But we live in an age of chest pumping. Even when you're pumping your chest about nothing. You're blowing smoke, and people are inhaling that smoke and taking it in and like, oh, that's great. Even when nothing's really happening. It's all a mirage. Because quiet competence requires you to operate in a manner that is sometimes in the shadows, outside the view or purview of your citizens or your teams or whoever, to get the job done. And as I said earlier, we live in a society where quiet competence is not rewarded. I personally prefer quiet competence. As my daughter would say to me, Daddy, you don't tell people all the stuff you do. And that's fine. I don't need to tell people all the stuff I do. I don't need them to know. I just need to do it because it's personal to me. My wife, on occasion, when she discovers I've done something, she's like, you didn't tell me. I don't need for you to know. I love you. That's it. I don't need for you to know. I don't need somebody to celebrate me. I just need to get the job done. Because that's what's important to me. Get the job done. Do I consider myself a quiet, competent professional? Yes, I do. Do I consider myself a level 5 leader? No. That's definitely not me. Do I aspire to be a level 5 leader? Yes. Will I ever get there? Yes, I will get there. But right now, I don't think I'm there. But it's a work in progress. But quiet competence helps breed quiet professionals. Those whose most important task is getting the job done. They have a high commitment to excellence in their work. They don't need fanfare. They don't need to be, celebrated. They just want to do a good job. Do they want to be promoted? Yes, they do. So let's be real. I like to get promoted. I like to get paid, so I'm not going to front. But I just want to do a good job at whatever I'm doing at whatever level. And that's what I saw in Joe Biden. I came to respect Joe Biden for that. I originally was not a fan of Joe Biden, but as I tell folks, watching him perform and get so many things done in 4 years really raised my level of appreciation for that man, because he epitomizes quiet competence. He knew his job. He knew what he needed to do as president, and he did it. People may disagree with some of his policies like I did, but he knew he got his job done. There was no smoke blowing. There was all concrete execution. There was actually a foundation that you can see, an actual structure, something that was tangible you can feel and touch. There were results, and there will be results in the future based on what he did. So, when you're looking for a leader, somebody to elevate, somebody to admire, somebody to aspire to, look for those quiet, competent individuals, those professionals. Those people who are committed to excellence in whatever they do. They're not even committed to excellence. They're uber committed to excellence. Beyond committed. They're borderline almost perfectionists. They're not, but they're borderline perfectionists. So when you think about people, when you think about leaders, assess them based on whether they're braggarts, those who express themselves but are quietly competent professionals, and those who are just quiet but get the job done. Somewhere between this range and this range is what you want people to be in terms of leadership. And that's what will make a difference in any organization, a positive difference. Because the folks on this part of the spectrum, they will show concrete results. The folks on this part of the spectrum will show chest pumping results, which is absolutely nothing. So support those who are quiet professionals, support those who are quietly competent and committed to excellence, because they will make a difference in the lives of dozens, hundreds, thousands, and millions. And those differences will transform society. My name is Dr. DAAM. This is Dr. DAAM Podcast, episode 54 on quiet competence. Please like and subscribe to my podcasts. Be safe. Have a great rest of your day.